have been drooling over chicks in magazines for long enough, and now there's a lot of pretty boys around, so we went to Ogle.
Although the hip-hop community is growing, not everybody sees it in a positive light. But people from the hip-hop community are getting together with the media to talk about the issues that arise out of this growing culture. It's called Mauve. It's a multimedia CD-ROM. It's got poetry, video, and sound, the whole deal. And it's a CD put out for teens by teens, and they're just relating some of their experiences.
Well, I did my story on Bryce's Passage. It seems that for a lot of us, there is no way to mark, becoming a woman or becoming a man. But for a lot of ethnic communities, it's a pretty big deal, so we went to check it out.
I also did a story on branding and scarification. I don't know, when I hear branding, I think cattle, but I saw it done to a human being, up close and personal.
Well, I didn't do a story this week, but I grew, check it, a play off the 9 Inch Nails mustache. And check this out. Ah, ooh la la.
No, you have too much time on your hands.
It took me 40.
I think it's like a dream, because like, you come in here, everyone's like in white, and it's sparkly and everything, so you're like, oh my god, I'm fancy.
Obviously, we don't usually get this dressed up just to come to work.
You're looking very sexy there. Oh, nice legs, I'm telling you. Anyways, it's the 39th annual Hungarian St. Stephen's Ball, where 23 young women are going to be formally presented to their community for the first time.
When you think of 1997, you don't usually think of debutante balls, so that's why we're here to find out more about them and to see if they have a place in the 90s.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Too many people, maybe. All right. An intimate moment with the debutante and the escort. Oh, cool. Look, wait, mirror reflection.
Whoa.
Woo! Someone's feet are already hurting. Hey, this is just the beginning. Hey, do you have any nail polish? Yes, I do. Say something in Hungarian, like, oh my god, it's now.
You want to keep a weight on that foot. Just move this one over, like this. And that way, if you take, you can dip it really, really low. Like this. Yeah. Oh, okay. It'll keep your balance a lot better.
Well, the ball started when there was the big exodus of Hungarians coming to Canada and the United States. And some of the gentlemen who came wanted to keep the traditions and the customs of Hungarian balls in Hungary and brought it to Canada. Do you find it's a way for them to sort of stay in touch with their roots and their culture? Absolutely, because they connect sometimes for the first time with the Hungarian community. Were you a debutante? Did you have a... Yes. So what was that like for you being presented? Wonderful. It's a wonderful experience. You feel like the belle of the ball that night. Hello, girl. Wow, this is fantastic. You look wonderful.
We go every year, like it's a Hungarian tradition, and my brother was there for 5 years, and he really liked it. And so I couldn't wait when I was young to turn 16 so I can become a debutante, and it's finally happened.
My mom did my eyes, and I'm like, it's too much, and I'm bitching at her. She's like, no, you look so pretty. I love your hair.
In a way, it's good to bring back a little bit of the past and to be a part of it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do it. I wanted to do something different for a change.
Thank you.
For everyone who's who's doing this for the first time, it's really something special. Sort of a step into the adult world, and it's very it can be nerve-wracking.
My dad's shoes, it's okay.
Some people say that debutante balls are a little out of date. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't think so. It's just a tradition. It's beautiful to keep up the tradition.
Good luck to all. Good luck, everyone.
And we now present the debutantes of this ball. Escorted by your Latin. Escorted by Joe Curry.
debutantes today are not the same as the debutantes then. Then it was taken very, very seriously. This was their entry into society, whereas now it's quite different. Basically, it's reliving a tradition that goes back many, many decades.
Now, is this kind of old-fashioned or outdated almost? Or?
Well, I think it is old-fashioned, and that's precisely what it's meant to be.
It's definitely a dream come true. It's, I personally feel like Cinderella right now. I don't know, it's a great feeling.
Every couple of years, lawmakers in this country discuss whether or not to bring back the death penalty. Should we kill murderers or shouldn't we? We took to the streets to find out.
I think the death penalty is very wrong.
I don't think we need a death penalty. I think it's bringing the society down to the level of the criminal.
The death penalty, I'm for it. I don't agree with it.
I'm opposed to it because it cheapens life.
I don't think anybody has the right to take anybody else's life, no matter what.
Whoever takes a life from someone, we should take his life away.
I don't think two wrongs make a right.
Killing people is not right. Like, as a punishment, what kind of punishment is that? Killing someone because why? Because they killed someone?
In a just society, we punish our criminals and we try to rehabilitate them. We don't kill them.
You know, we're humans. We should find other ways of doing this. Other than that, we're just still glorified monkeys.
I think it depends on the crime.
Well, I'm just happy that it didn't enter it yet in Canada.
It might get rid of people that are innocent. I don't think it's fair.
If you kill someone, you can't justify killing someone else for having done it.
It's kind of a contradiction to punish killing by killing.
Totally against it.
It's an interesting feeling to voluntarily subject yourself to something you know is going to cause you pain with the hope of having a beautiful end result in 2 or 3 months.
So, the body's a temple, right? And we know that some people like theirs pretty decorated, but at what price uniqueness? And I'm not talking about tattoos and piercing here. We met some people who are really pushing the envelope.
There's a common misconception that scars are ugly, but a well-applied scar can be very attractive. This is 5 hours of work, over 150 individual burns, between 150 200 strikes. It's a very intense white pain for a quarter second, and then you don't feel anything because your endorphins level in your body gets so high you're flying. I had a friend who had some brandings, and it got me interested, and I experimented in my room in residence actually with a hot plate and various bits of metal, and had a few disastrous attempts at marking myself. A friend of mine who is a trained piercer and scarificationist told me how to do it properly, and since then I've been evolving my technique.
I'm nervous for you.
Don't worry, I've been trained professionals.
Don't try this at home.
Okay.
Seems to go right against instincts, you know?
Wow. Jesus.
What about safety? Is it safe?
If the person burning doesn't know their trade, they could cauterize all the subcutaneous blood vessels to a certain area of skin. No blood supply, the skin dies, you get gas gangrene, you might even lose a limb. So it's very important that the person who's doing the burns knows what they're doing. Yeah, that's better.
The original tattooings and brandings and scarifications tended to be part of community and tribal initiation rites. This, I think, is a much more individual phenomenon, and it's more of a rite of passage that the individual imposes on himself or herself to achieve their own particular goals. I don't suppose such extraordinarily painful things will ever be mainstream, because, you know, one of our cultural norms is pain avoidance. We go to infinite lengths to avoid pain. So it seems unlikely that most people will suddenly flip to such an extreme that they will then move into the, I'm looking for pain, have you got any to spare?
Tell me if you need me to stop. I've always wanted to experiment and push myself to the limits that I can. If it means to cut myself up knowing that I won't do any damage to myself, I find nothing wrong with that. I'm not hurting anybody in the process.
Some people who get this kind of work done are interested in the ritual part of it. Changing the body, it involves pain.
There's a lot of psychology there. A lot of people feel they're breaking down a barrier, getting to a point where you can deal with pain and challenge yourself a little bit.
The actual cutting does stimulate certain parts of what I enjoy. I'm not saying that I love being cut up, but the process of it changing is nice to me.
You want to be really careful how you go about getting these procedures done. I really don't recommend home jobs. There's a fairly serious risk of infection, especially with scarification. You want to be really careful about that and be given proper instruction how to deal with that possibility. Are you all right? Feeling a bit queasy?
A lot.
Yeah, a lot? Can you just lean back? In Western culture right now, we're seeing what I call hyper-diversification. You can get whatever you want done to your body. You can choose whatever religion you want, and you don't have to belong to a tribe or a certain religion to choose where you go with your body and with your mind.
Hip-hop culture, like, it's just an everyday part of my life, you know? Like, it's just something you grow into and everything.
It can be the way you rap, DJ, can be a fashion, but you can't just do it like, yeah, I saw somebody doing it, so I'm doing it. You gotta feel it, you know?
Like graffiti, like the way the person dresses, the way the person, the message come across to the person, all that is hip-hop.
He was known to his fans as a rap artist who sang about a violent way of living he knew all too well. Early this morning, he became a victim of that lifestyle, killed in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles.
Hip-hop has been making millions of dollars for the music and fashion industries, yet it's often misunderstood and badly portrayed. Recently, the hip-hop community got together with the media to talk about the issues that arise out of this growing culture.
I'm saying, first of all, what is the basis and the purpose of this summit?
All right, the reason why I put this summit together, I find that hip-hop is being stereotyped and misconceived and being exploited. Is the media misrepresenting hip-hop culture in any way?
In a certain extent, yes, because when you do hear about hip-hop, what you do hear is the fights that broke down at a hip-hop party. You don't hear about the hip-hop artists coming down all the way from New York and doing this, canceling that show, just specifically come to Montreal and doing a show. What you hear about is the gunshot.
How can the media help the hip-hop scene?
The way it can help, merely to present it in its accurate fashion, both positive and negative.
With this gangster rap violence, do you feel that the artist, there's a responsibility towards the public?
I guess the responsibility all depends on what kind of person the artist is.
As a musician, what are you trying to communicate through your music?
Living righteously, using positivity before negativity, like thinking about things before I do them.
Can't battle me, I'll be the one without the big nose. I pack mad fools like a travel cash through. Don't need to tell the show, right?
What did you think of the summit?
I made a comment earlier about how there's no parents here. I think they're the ones who need to be here so they can understand it, because they don't listen to the music, or they hear certain words that stand out, like the B word or the F word. Those words stand out so they don't get the whole message.
The older generation thinks that, you know, it's mostly about violence and mostly about killing and stuff like that. Why do they think this? Probably because what they're hearing on the radio and stuff like that.
Hip-hop, in many ways, is a reflection of society. It expresses the angers, anxieties, the frustrations, and, you know, the positive energies that people feel, especially youths.
Parents have to give the kids values, because I listen to the music, but I know right from wrong. And as long as you know that, the music can't do anything to you. Groups like the Fugees have been very successful in the industry. Do you feel that the industry, hip-hop, is becoming too commercialized?
Not at all. I think in many ways the Fugees are opening doors up for hip-hop. The Fugees blowing up like the way they did kind of gave rock and roll and the whole music business a wake-up call. There is good quality hip-hop. It's a question of presenting it. If you do not presenting it, what can I say? It was the first summit that we had, and in the future it would be nice if we had the parents, so in conjunction with the kids we could get the message across and they could probably work more closely together to get a real understanding of the hip-hop.
I feel like killing myself, just like nothing matters. Like everybody's taking everything out on me. Everything's my fault. Nobody cares about me. Nothing matters. Why am I here if life's just going to be this hard on me?
We're out in the country, east of Ottawa, and we're here to talk to a group of teenagers about, of all things, a CD-ROM they're producing. It's to help kids deal with teen suicide and other issues in their lives, so let's go inside and take a look.
We were looking for a new tool that could be presented to teenagers as a way to help them sort of get through very difficult periods that they have. It's called mauve because we found that mauve is a color that teenagers who are having difficulties really sort of are attached to. It's a color that they talk about a lot. It comes up very often. They'll be able to go into it and sort of play around, go in different topic areas, into different content, and the whole look of it is sort of like a scrapbook.
Sometimes I want to be like, weird, like really weird, so that people just go, now what is he thinking? I don't want people to know what I'm thinking,
I don't know if I can trust myself. I'm kind of crazy.
Our focus is really not on suicide prevention, but on problem solving. It's an approach that we call an approach to life. Throughout the CD-ROM, we're always using testimonials and ideas that really come from teenagers themselves. So it's sort of like they're helping each other get through difficult periods.
And I actually said, look, I've got a problem here. I'm thinking all these bad thoughts. I haven't been happy since, Christmas. Like, what's going on with me? And I was able to get the help I needed.
The problem of suicide is not suicide. It solves the life around that teenager. Sherman is one of my good friends since a long time. I was dealing with really, really hard problems, and I was on my own in an apartment and no job, and I needed money. And he knew I could do those things, and he knew I was sensible to do those things. It's not too far away that he could relate to what they're living, because actually it's what we're living.
I got really, really fucked up, and I ended up in the hospital, and I tried killing myself because I just thought that nobody was there to help me because nobody was helping me, and I thought that everything would be better if I wasn't there.
What was it like teaching the kids to use the camera?
Okay, most of the time we just give the camera to we let them go and show us new approach, discover new approach. We don't want to say, oh, that must be in this way.
I don't believe in afterlife. Because animals die, right? They don't care. Animals don't believe in any other kind of afterlife or anything. I just think that humans are too smart for themselves. They want to believe in something else because they have an idea of their own mortality.
You can't tell somebody, don't kill yourself. You have to give them, the opportunity to just decide that for themselves.
I always thought all my life that everybody hated me. Then I started making friends. And it feels so good.
Teenagers who are feeling depressed are too closed in upon themselves. They're not reaching out enough. I'm hoping that this CD-ROM will give them the impetus to reach out.
I think there's great power and promise vested in these people, and plus in keeping with life and why a person goes through all the strain and the difficulties. What is the beautiful purpose?
Cool.
Yes.
It is definitely come to a point where male models, or to say the male body, is being exploited in a whole different way. This is the new aspect of selling clothes. Before we saw women being exploited, now it's men.
Women have been drooled over and ogled for as long as we can remember. And now the supermodels are the epitome of beauty. Kate, Naomi, Claudia, we've all heard the names. But now you're going to be likely to hear names like Mark, Tyson, Joel. These are the new supermodels, and they are just as pretty as the girls. But the question is, are they as high maintenance? So we went out to see how much primping and preening goes into making the pretty boy of the 90s.
I think as time goes on, more men are starting to take care of themselves and looking at other men, and so they look for new products. And now, when you have a need for more male products, there's more men need to sell these products.
Do you think that male models are becoming more popular?
Well, there's always been a market for men and women, but I think men are getting more recognized as models. There's very important jobs, very big contracts with men, and so they take their place.
How would you say that it's different from, say, like the last 10 years?
10 years ago, at shows and magazines, we would see men, like in the 30s and even 40s. Now to see young boys on the runways, it's amazing, you know. They look like they're looking for the mothers. They're so young, you know.
Now guys are getting younger and younger.
Yeah, that's sort of the new trend.
Yeah, I think so. A lot more younger faces. Everybody wants a new, fresh face.
There's some great new stuff there. And this is new.
This was still from the
you took this to the hairdresser?
photographer that got his haircut while he was in the book.
That's great. You see advertising campaigns for men's fragrances with naked bodies. It's just the way the market sees its way to function and to shock you to buy. And of course the male physique has not been exploited so far. We see it now happening in movies. We see it happening on television, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more. I think men realize that women's taste has become a lot harder to please. So they are really out there trying to impress. Besides going to the gym, I think men actually are doing a lot of things that I think they would like to keep in secret. Men are going for facials, men are going for hair implants, men are going for plastic surgery.
You want to look good, you want to feel good about yourself.
Like, your guy friends know that you do this?
Yes, they come here also.
Really? Do you think that men are getting more concerned about their physical appearances?
Well, it's the society today. If you don't look a certain way, they don't accept you.
Do you think that guys are starting to care more about what they look like?
Well, in North America, yes.
Sure, I guess so. Probably.
Now they try to find more guys that look well and look better.
It makes us work a bit harder, you know?
I think fashion and beauty attracts everybody. Yeah. We all, even though some people don't want to admit it, we all love beauty. We all love beautiful things, comfortable things, good smells, good, you know. Yeah. It's something that's natural.
All right, that's all for this week. See you later. Ciao.
If you have any story ideas for the show, get in touch with us. You can fax us, you can phone us, you can write us, and you can even reach us on the internet.